right, welcome everybody to the first virtual healthcare tug of 2023. Really happy to have you all here. I hope I didn't press that twice. For those who are new, if you haven't met us all, we have 4 co-leads on this user group. Mark Connolly, BI lead at Chicago Medicine, user group ambassador, myself, Lindsay Betzendahl, I'm a senior consultant at Health Data Viz, visionary and ambassador. Mark and I have been co-leading this tug for a number of years, which always surprises me how long ago we were asked to join in. And we also have Nicole, Lily, and Mark, who's a data visualization engineer and ambassador, and Dennis Cow, who I believe is joining shortly, and he's a professor and also an ambassador. So the 4 of us work very hard to organize these for you, so I hope you really enjoy it. And yeah, feel free to reach out to any of us. These are all of our Twitter handles and whatnot as well. And if I can get my mouse to work here.
And if you're on Twitter, I'm live tweeting, so feel free to interact there.
Absolutely. So we like to do a couple community highlights or any kind of important topics we want to bring up that are going on either in the Tableau community at large or related to healthcare. First of all, if you hadn't heard, Tableau conference is coming up in May. It is in Las Vegas again. I think it's the last year that I'll be there. It is now 3 days. It was originally going to be 2. It's now 3 days from May 9th to the 11th. Tickets aren't on sale yet, but keep an eye out for those sometime in the next couple of weeks. Tableau did put out an email that they already had mentioned kind of the pricing and things like that. So if you need to get like a budget or put some proposal in, do it now so you can join in on the fun in Vegas and learn a bunch. Always a good experience if you've never been before. Also, if you hadn't heard, since we all, or not necessarily all, but this is a healthcare tug, we are super excited that Tableau has finally updated their server and cloud to be HIPAA compliant. This is huge for healthcare organizations in order to be able to use the cloud, since many had not because of this. And so there are new safeguards in place. And you could read more about it on the Tableau blog. This image is super blurry. It is from Tableau. I don't know why they didn't have a better quality one, unfortunately, but these are some quick things. And again, this is from their blog. So something to keep in mind as things continue to evolve and advance in what Tableau is doing with some of their features. So real quick, we try to have these tugs about every quarter-ish. So if we're doing this accurately, we will be having the next one sometime perhaps in April or May, or at least before the summer. In order to keep up to date with those things, you can follow us. As Nicole mentioned, she is our social network guru here and managing our health tug on Twitter and LinkedIn. But also, most importantly, we want to make sure that, you guys have opportunities to share your knowledge. We're always looking for speakers. We can't run these without the knowledge of our speakers. So if you have a health-related topic, or even something that's related to your organization that was some kind of success story, or what you did to, resolve some pain point, some techniques, anything that you think might be useful or you want to branch out and present, please let us know. You can email us or direct message us on Twitter to get in touch. And then also, we're always happy to get any information about what you think, what else you want to learn. If there's other topics you want to make sure that we try to source. And a few final reminders before we get into the presentations. Again, use the chat to talk and say hi, make comments about, what you're hearing, like that was great tip, or we do that too, or never knew that. But if you have any direct questions that you want the presenters to ask or answer after their talk, please use the Q&A directly, because we will go through those after their presentations and have a little bit of a discussion and Q&A. And this tug is recorded and shared on Tableau's YouTube channel, and we will also share the links out when it's available. It often takes just like a day or two. So if you have to drop, or you want to share this with someone later, we will have that available. So you can, again, check our Health Tug Twitter handle for that link when we get it. And finally, just be kind and appropriate to each other if you are chatting, and we hope you really enjoy the presentations. So without further ado, we have two wonderful presenters today. Julia, she's a senior consultant at Woodmark Consulting, and she's a Tableau user group ambassador. She's going to talk about smart information densification and how to create highly informative charts. And I think there's a little follow along on this one. And then we also have Hina Waheed. She's going to talk about Tableau user groups, building a community in your organization, which is also a very great hot topic. And she's a senior BI developer at Innova Health Systems. So with that, I will turn it over to Julia, who I believe is starting, or sorry, is Hina starting? Could have messed that up.
Julia is, yep.
Perfect. All right, let me stop sharing. All right, Julia.
Oh, hello, everybody. So give me a second to share my screen. And so here we go. So hi, today I'm talking about smart information densification, how to create highly informative charts. And feel free to open Tableau and the Superstore and click along. So first of all, let me kick this off with who am I and why am I here? So I am actually an artist. So I was an artist, and I was looking for a job, and I was really open, looking for creative jobs. And I stumbled upon data artists, and I learned Tableau and just found out that this was really my passion, and that I could pour all my passion and creativity and artsiness into working with data visualization instead of doing like fine art. So I'm a passionate printmaker, and I still do that in my free time. But since I transitioned from this really creative field into data and Tableau, I have a unique perspective on some topics. So I have my own Tableau user group, or should I say groups. I'm co-lead of Tableau user group Munich. And I also recently joined Heidi Kalbert, and we're organizing Data Plus Women Germany together. So here's a few pictures of my tug. I am really proud of them. I love them to death. It's so great. We're doing in-person meetings only ever since COVID subsided a little bit. And you can see here with our community, we do not have recordings, but that's also just such an intimate circle and great experience because people are so open and sharing. And I just love doing stuff for them and with them. And here's me and my co-lead, Ahmad and Heidi. And for this engagement, I was awarded Tableau User Group Ambassador. I'm so happy and proud. So come find my profile on Tableau Public, where you can also find the workbook that we're going to work on today. So all the charts that I'm designing today are there along with a description. So yeah, if you're interested, download that resource. So today I want to go into real estate. Why real estate? So a dashboard space on a dashboard is really limited and valuable. And that's pretty much real estate, right? So every centimeter is really expensive. So we want to think about what we put there. And don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying you should put as much information as possible in as little space as possible. You should leave white space, but you should leave white space where the eye needs it to rest, or where the eye needs it to distinguish one graph from another. So today I'll be elaborating on 3 visualizations and kind of a core principle that I think is in every best practice Tableau guide, but it's always good to remember that. When we talk about highly informative charts, beware that it's the same side of a coin with data literacy. If you have an audience that is not very data literate, you don't want to use these charts because they do take longer to look at and longer to get all that information out of. So consider your audience, and if you think they will be up to the task, be bold and try to incorporate as many KPIs as possible in your chart and kind of stuff it a little bit with information. So the one thing that I always pray and preach, I think I only preach it, I don't pray, but is removing all unnecessary axes labels. So I'm a really big digger for that. If a junior comes to me and we go over a dashboard, I always find unnecessary axes and labels. So my thing is, if you look at the chart in the middle, we have a dual axis from our design, and we have the bar chart labels, and we have a really great title of the chart. So that enables me to leave out a lot of information that can save me space. So for example, if we say sales in the title, we can ditch that axis title. If we put the exact value of the bars on top of the bar chart, we can ditch the whole axis altogether and not mentioning the helper axes that we surely don't need. So let's jump over and into the Tableau workbook that I brought along with me. All right, so the first visualization that I wanted to discuss and introduce is a bar chart with an integrated circle that also displays information. So here we have the chance to visualize two KPIs that do not at all go on an axis together, whether those axes be synchronized or not synchronized. So this could be various information. It could be like a profit ratio that does have something to do with the visual. It could be a year-over-year change. It could be a percent of total, whatever. It's just two independent KPIs that each have a way of being visualized. So the one KPI that is sales through the length of the bar chart, and the other KPI that is the profit ratio through the color. And of course, you will say, hey, what if new data comes in? What if the data changes? So that is why those dots are depending on the data that is being shown, so it can adapt when the data, when new data or fresh data comes in, so it adapts. So let's go through how to build this step by step. I have a practice sheet, which I will duplicate. And here I have the description and the captions. So all of you can look it up later if you want to use this. So let's start with a column chart with order date. And as I mentioned before, feel free to click along. So we'll do order date and sales. Switch it to bar chart, of course, and then put a label on each column. So I love this trick. When I duplicate pills, I just take a pill, I press the control key, and then I can drop it anywhere and it duplicates. That saves me a lot of time. I'm always an advocate for saving clicks. So I'm always click counting in Tableau and trying to save as many clicks as possible. So next we'll do a double axis, and we'll do a little calculation that I'm lazy and I'm doing just in the rows area. We're doing a window max function. And the window max function looks up the highest value in the visualization. So right now, the highest value is the 700,000. So that is the value that the window max gives us back if I tell it to take the sum of sales, right? And I will show you how that looks like in a second. Okay, I'm pressing enter. And you can see the labels are there. I'll remove them. And the bars are just one height. So that's perfect. Let's double click and make them a little bit lower so we can place our values somewhere between 0 and the highest value, right? We don't want our circles to be there on top. So I'm doing like times 0.1. All right, and I'm doing a dual axis, synchronizing, and here we go. So really depending on what data comes in or goes out, depending on what the values are today or yesterday, this will always react to the data that's being shown and therefore secure that the visualization doesn't break if the values change. Let's change that to a circle, adjust the size. And now we want to put our label down. So for this example, I thought profit ratio. So I'm taking profit, dropping it on the label, and then again, double clicking, divided by sum of sales. And I have, of course, to format into a percentage. And as with percentages, I think 1 comma place is enough. So let's bring those labels up into the middle of the circle and drop the value on color, again, using that control button to save me a few clicks. Let's pick a more favorable color. I'm really into those flashy greens at the moment. So here we go. So very easily, we created a bar chart and a second KPI that kind of go together, yet are independent or can be even more independent of each other. So the last step is always add this title and clean up the axes, right? So let's do this title, let's say sales and profit ratio by order date. And the small hack so that our font viewer has a little bit easier time to know where is which KPI. We'll do the profit ratio in the color that we're also using to visualize the data, right? Okay, so profit ratio is down here and both are green. So now we can really clean this up. Order date, we can hide that. We already have that in the title. The helper axis, of course, that one has to go. But we're also able to spare the sales axis. We have sales in the title and we have the exact values on the bar chart. So goodbye, here we go. And we clean that up marvelously and saving us a lot of space. So what I would do, the space that we're saving by hiding those axes, I would leave that blank and just have white space, because white space really helps your eye to separate one visual from the other, gives it a small rest and really focuses your attention from space where nothing is going on that your eye will skip over to space where something is going on. So one of the mistakes you don't want to make is put something everywhere so your eye can't focus, because all of the space is full and cluttered without differentiation. That was really quick. Give me a feedback if you can follow along. So let's hop on to the next chart. So now we will have dual aggregation. All right. So what we can see here is we're seeing profit by product. So each circle is a product, and it tells us how profitable or how much profit we made off of that product. And we also have the average product, and everything is by city, right? So you can see here I picked Alabama because it was just the first one on the list. But it could be any other city that we can pick. And right, so we have very many informations, the profit by product, the average, but we also have this KPI on the very end of it. And what it is the sum of product by city. Once again, it's a KPI. Here, I only changed the aggregation, but potentially you could put a whole different KPI there that just has to say something about that city. It could be, I don't know, it could be quantity or the average days to deliver. It doesn't matter. But once again, we're using the axes to show that information. So let's get into it. Let's duplicate the practice sheet. And here again, I have the description. So let's start up with the city. No, with the state better. Alabama. And our city. So, and now we want to see profit by product. And let's change to the shape icon. Voila, here we go. We'll do sum of profit on color as well to give it just that little extra spark. All right, let's head over to the analytics pane and do an average line per cell. And I'm not a big fan of those dainty lines. For me, it has to pop, especially if it's already, that dense. So let's make it a bit thicker and let's put the value down. All right, so now we're again doing a double axis. And using and this time we're using the window max function, but not with sum of profit, but with max of profit. So we're getting that last one on the very right. Let's see it. Here I have to remove this one, voila. And when we do the double axes, or the dual axes and synchronize. Yeah, it lies directly on top of that last mark. So let's divide that and give that a bit more space. I'm multiplying by a little more than 1. I think I need more than space than that. Let's do it like this. Perfect. So now I have this circle to put any second KPI on. And this will be, let's remove that. This will be the sum of profit. So let's make that alignment right. Oh, so it's better readable. Perfect. And the thing is, we can now either use that shape to also make the information pop via color, or we can just remove that shape altogether. So right now, if you hover over this with your cursor, you get a tooltip, and it also kind of highlights. Can you see that when you hover over, it gets this outline. So when I change the color to just to white, I'll remove color and change it to white. If you change that to white, you might say, oh yeah, that shape is gone, but you can still hover over it and your cursor will show that small circle. And there's a quick trick to remove that. If you go to shapes, more shapes, and then I have already laid down an invisible shape. I created it through PowerPoint. It's another talk of mine, hacks with invisible shapes. So if you select that invisible shape, it will now disappear and you don't have that outline that is so disturbing. And voila. So lastly, we do need to clean that up, insert title and remove superficial axes. So let's see how much we can remove. So we're seeing profit by city. We're seeing average profit and sum of profit by city. Let's hit OK. So of course we can always hide the helper axis, but we can also remove the axis title profit and save us time, save us space, and also hide the field labels for rows. And of course, this is purely theoretical. In my day-to-day life as an IT consultant, I can't count how many times my client said, oh, I do want that axis title, even though I try to advocate that it's already in the chart, you don't need it. They needed it. So of course, best practice hits reality. Reality always wins. And yeah, but it's just a great way to also discuss. For the last one, it's much more about saving space and using space in the vertical and horizontal form as efficiently as possible. So let's look at the dashboard that I titled Bar Chart Nightmare. I have had so many of these in my latest dashboard project. And what we have here is we have a long title that our client or customers or consumers need to see the whole thing. And then we have a bar chart, but, and then we have a label for the bar chart because, our client doesn't want to look at the axis to know how much money he or she made. And what we have here is the visual element, the bar chart, is smallest and it disappears. And all the other information all around it is taking up so much space. And what we do have here is we would need to make it a lot wider for all the information to display correctly. But it's really intuitive nowadays, everybody being on the cell phone and all, to make it longer because scrolling up and down is getting really intuitive. Whereas, using the length of something really takes up a lot of valuable space. So also it's sometimes we just want to know, oh, what is our best value? What is our worst value? So it's not that important to see like the end or the tail of the bar chart. So let's use the space more efficiently going downwards. So what I suggest is using a bar chart where the label is above the bar and therefore giving really the bar chart the space and place that it needs. And this way, we're also much better able to compare bars that have like a small amount of difference between them. So I labeled the second one, the second dashboard, a bar chart bad dream, because we're not on the nightmare stage anymore, but it's still, of course, less than optimal. But when is day-to-day life really optimal, right? So this way, we have all our long title written out. We have the number, so the exact length of the bar chart written here. We don't need an axis. And the bars really have the space that they need, and we can compare them more easily. So how to create that? Let me duplicate. All right, so we'll create a bar chart, and I found out product name is actually better. Let's add them all. Product name, you can see it like they're so long, but you really need the long title. And we're doing quantity just to change things up. Can't always do sales. So we're doing quantity, sorting them upside down. And now what we want to do is create also a double axis. And no, not a double axis, but a helper axis with the average of 0. And put that on the bottom of quantity, which is a really nice and easy way to get around that measure names, measure values thing that is so hard to explain and takes my beginners always a long time to learn. I remember it took me several months to really get that concept. So what we have here is we have an empty space where we can put our label on. So let's get to that labeling. Let's show the mark labels. And what we want to put down there is the product name. Don't forget to press the key, the product name, and the quantity. Let's edit this one so it is in one line. All right. And then we have to do a bit of magic because we only want to show min or max. I'm sure you figured it out. We actually only want to show the minimum value because the minimum value is 0. So let's remove that maximum label, and don't forget for field put measure values. Voila, here we go. So now, of course, we have to do a lot of hiding. We have to remove those headers. And we can also get rid of that axis. You see how much joy I have removing axes from a viz. Yeah, and finish up by giving the visualization a great name. That is really the one of the most important parts, giving context to a viz. And let's say this is quantity ordered by products. All right, let's hit OK and make that pop a little more. So that's how you get the bar chart label into another line as the bar chart itself, and going from a bar chart nightmare to a bar chart bad dream. So guys, keep in mind, real estate is expensive, and keep your audience in mind. So don't design highly informative charts if those people are not comfortable with it or are not willing to spend some more time gazing into a chart. All right, well, thank you for listening, and I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Thanks, Julia. We'll give it a minute or two. I think people were chatting along the way, a lot of props to you and all of that. But if folks have any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. We do have a couple minutes. If people have other questions, if there's anything that, as Julia was going through, you wanted kind of a second set of eyes on or look at, this is kind of the nice little window to do that. Oh, this is always a good one. The stuff that you went through, Julia, are you able to make any of that available, whether it be on Tableau Public or other kind of channels like that?
Yes, of course. So if you go to my Tableau Public page, I already uploaded that workbook that I showed you, and it's also featured on my page. So just scribble down my name and you can download it, and yeah, and have it with you forever.
Cool. And I think
maybe we could drop the link, Julia,
yeah.
your link to your public profile.
Yeah, let me also look that up.
Julia, I can find that while you're going. Lindsay, if you don't mind working through the Q&A, I'll go try to find that.
Yeah, sure. All right, so we did that. So Stephen asked that he appreciates your ability to save clicks and make it easy on the eyes for the user. Do you have any typeface or fonts that you prefer to enhance the visual appeal of a dashboard? Or do you tend to stick with just like Tableau? Or
I do stick with Tableau. I had this one project where we wanted to have like a custom font because it was a data product that, that was really designy and for clients, not for companies. And it was such a hassle. We had to import it, install it on server. We just had the worst time of it. And the font that Tableau uses is really also already optimized to be readable and legible, even though it's small. So also save yourself time for more important things. Colors, I think, are much more important. So just leave the font and focus on other things.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Another question is, can you explain the average zero, trick again?
Yes, of course. So you just have to create a helper axis that has the lowest value possible. So if all values are positive, just make something that equals to 0. You can say max of 0, you can say min of 0, average of 0. It doesn't matter. Just see to it that it ends up on 0. I've not tested it for negative values, so I'm not an expert on that, because then the min max trick wouldn't work anymore. But that's just 5 minutes figuring out a workaround around the workaround.
There's some other questions like in the chat, I think, that someone asked. Someone asked if you had ever done any work in visualizing like survey data.
Like if I have work done, did I work in survey data? Is that what you mean?
Have you ever done any like visualizations in with survey data?
No, I don't recall, but yeah, I don't recall that. And which kind of data for the bra chart? Nice typo anyway. But basically, as I said before, like you can use any type of data, but with negative values, you'd have to adjust the minimum value, and maybe also use a window min function, and then and then crank that value even lower, so you for sure have a minimum value.
Awesome. Thank you so much. If any other questions, they pop into your head, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and then Julia can, you can type your answers right in there. Yeah, thank you so much, Julia, for that. That was great.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
All right,
Julia.
so next up, we have Hina. You ready to
Awesome.
take it away?
Awesome, will do. Let me start sharing my screen. Can you see my screen? We're all good?
Yep, good to go.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to my portion of the presentation. In this portion of the presentation, I want to discuss some ways of building a fun and engaging user group in your organization. However, before I do that, I do want to introduce myself. As previously mentioned, my name is Hina Waheed. I am a senior BI developer at Innova Health System. My Tableau journey started in 2018, and like many of us, my first few dashboards for the C-suite were very basic with minimal amounts of information on them. Over time, my designs grew by adding more creativity and functionality that wowed our executives, and since then, I've been considered a Tableau expert in the organization. In the process, I've also mentored a lot of our creators who were interested in Tableau dashboards, which led to the monthly Tableau user group sessions today. A little fun fact, my husband and I actually traveled to South Korea and Singapore as soon as travel was allowed, but negative tests were still required. So we fully couldn't escape the test, but still enjoyed ourselves as much as possible. I've included a few pictures from our trip. So on the top left, you could see that it is an entrance to the second largest palace in South Korea. And just below that is the largest indoor waterfall in the Singapore airport. If you'd like to connect with me outside of this forum, you can feel free to email me or find me on LinkedIn. Before I get into the topic of today, I do want to provide some context of Innova and who we are and what type of services we provide. So Innova Health System is a leading nonprofit healthcare provider in Northern Virginia. We have about 20,000 team members providing care to over 2 million patients every year in 5 different hospitals, primary care and specialty care practices, emergency and urgent care centers, outpatient services, and destination institutes. We've also been recognized by Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, to say the least. If you'd like to learn more, please go to innova.org. With that, here are some topics that I'll be presenting today, sharing some tips from starting your own group to ways on ensuring your user group meetings stay a success. So we'll talk about some presentation content, ways on encouraging dialogue, and some examples along the way. If you're thinking about starting a user group but don't know exactly where to start, here are some ideas. One of the main things I would recommend is to ensure you have leadership support. It makes a huge difference in your meeting attendance because they usually have a much larger reach to other leaders and are able to help you raise awareness by simply sending an email on your behalf. All Tableau user group sessions are on YouTube, so use them as much as possible for some inspiration and tips. Determine a cadence that works best for your schedule. For example, I chose the second Wednesday of each month at 10 a.m. because my Wednesdays are more open than any other weekday. Define your target audience. For example, my group is catered to just creators and explorers since the content is about development within Tableau Desktop or Tableau Web. Don't be afraid to reach out to other power users in the community. This way, you can build your own internal and external groups to help you bring a different perspective and ideas into these user groups. Last but not least, this platform is ideal to share any upgrade information you may have coming up, so plan accordingly. Now, you may be wondering what to do when you are ready for that first meeting and so on. Depending on the type of content you want to plan, I would highly recommend using Ethan Lang's Tug calendar of upcoming events. It's not only to find future Tug sessions, but also to find a great list of speakers with their LinkedIn page to easily message them for availability. However, always be prepared with a backup plan in case they can't make it last minute. It shouldn't be a surprise, but I had a great response rate from all the individuals I invited over the last year. And now some of them are great Tableau buddies of mine. So don't be shy to reach out. I personally enjoy presentations that include a variety of topics and speakers. So try that if and when possible. It helps keep an engaging ambiance. Some topic examples include a quick tips and tricks section for the skills development section, dashboard presentations, internal or external to your organization. If internal, you could use a Tableau repository to identify the most popular dashboards in your organization. Success stories to highlight special use cases or executive reporting. And ending with a cliffhanger for your next meeting. For example, when knowing a guest speaker is coming the next month, I would just lightly mention the guest speaker and provide more details closer to the next meeting. So you've planned your content and want to create an activity to help people share ideas and initiate a dialogue. We live in a virtual world, and building a comfortable environment to help initiate conversations can be intimidating. So one way I was able to overcome this challenge was by adding a few minutes of activities. Whether it's a viz game or a trivia game, it helps everyone warm up and becomes a good distraction from work. So make it fun. For example, I would build a few good and bad visualizations and encourage the attendees to try and identify the good and bad features of the viz. This also helps point out some best practices. Using Kahoot as a tool for trivia game is great. For those that don't know, Kahoot is a game-based platform that allows you to customize questions and answers to meet your needs. And funny thing is, you actually get more participation when you announce a reward for your winners, and definitely more when there's monetary rewards. So depending on your organization rules, try to make it a rewarding experience for everyone. Here are some examples of a few slides over the past year. For the first meeting, I wanted to create a fun and informal slide, so I added information about the Tug meetings and a joke to help break the ice. In one of the skills development sections, I presented an idea learned from the newbies Tug led by Claus and Jim regarding the Tableau data model. I was really intrigued by their way of teaching joins, unions, and relationships, so I brought that into the organization. For one of the dashboard presentations, we talked about the Iron Viz competition last year and the creative display and functionality of the topic. As previously mentioned, here's an example of a good versus bad visualization. On the left-hand side, you'll notice that it includes a ton of colors, which can be distracting and less comprehensible, making it ineffective. However, on the right-hand side, it helps you highlight the more important components for your data by creating a more focused analysis, making it effective. I also did a year in review, thanking everyone for their cooperation and attending. This included topics that were discussed in the past year, allowing new users to reach out for any additional resources. Lastly, I would provide tips and tricks to encourage guided self-learning, which included a walkthrough of key features in Tableau step by step, and it added a video reference for visual learners. This helped advance user skill set and built a strong relationship with others. Keeping up with user groups takes time and dedication. So pick a platform that works best for you. Zoom, Teams, or WebEx are some examples. Plan 2 to 3 months in advance to give yourself enough time with other project deadlines. To not have to deal with all the pressure, try alternating monthly planning with other TUG leaders. And I can't emphasize this enough, but build those relationships outside of these meetings. I often have people reach out to me requesting help with development, and sometimes I end up learning from them too. You don't have to be an expert. Sometimes it's just about being a sounding board. So you'll notice a little goes a long way. If you feel you don't have enough content, but still have something to share, then just end the meeting early. It's perfectly fine and very much appreciated by people who are in back-to-back meetings. One of my personal goals is to plan a Tableau day in the organization. This would be an opportunity to come with a few use cases and have a development session with other data enthusiasts. With that, I will end this presentation with a little reminder. As much as it is intimidating to start your own user group, just remember that at the end of the day, it's about fostering communication with the community to help each other grow in Tableau. Thank you for attending today, and I hope to connect with you all outside of this forum.
Thanks, Hina. Again, similar notes as before, if folks have any questions. This is, I think, something hopefully people can really resonate with, or maybe are identifying opportunities at your own organizations. It's just really cool to see kind of like the way that you went about it. I know we definitely resonate on our end, on the help tug side. It's a lot of work. But I think the way that you laid it out is a really thoughtful approach to being able to support these groups long term, and all of that. I see one question that came in around how do you manage when you that kind of competing interest of your day-to-day workload, running a group. How do you work through some of those like periods where you just have tons of work on your plate?
So I definitely try the time boxing method. I block off if I know that I have a tug session coming up in 3 weeks, I will block off some time, maybe, whether it's 2 weeks in advance or something, but I'll block off 2-3 hours, try to see what I want to plan in terms of content, guest speakers. So I try the time boxing method. Sometimes it works. I'm guilty of canceling meetings at times too. But the time boxing has helped a lot for me.
I'm trying to see if we have other questions coming in. Again, if you have it, please use the Q&A. I know I was writing down ideas that we might steal for this group. I don't know, Lindsay, Nicole, or Dennis, if you had other thoughts or questions.
I was just wondering, like, in your experience, like, have you seen any like changes over time in participation? And if so, like, do you have methods to try to get people back engaged? I know people get busy and then they change priorities, or,
Yeah, definitely, especially, beginning of the year or end of year is busy for everyone, or end of the month is also really busy for everyone. So in that scenario, what I've been able to do is, whether I have a guest speaker or I have an agenda planned, I'll create an exciting email to send out in advance to let people know, hey, this is coming up. And if you're able to attend, go ahead. If not, they are recorded sessions, so I do share them after the fact. So usually sending out an email does help people remember that, hey, oh, there's something exciting coming up. I'm really interested in this topic. I should attend.
Hannah. You mentioned having a Tableau data at your organization. I'm curious about what kind of either events or content you present, and if it's intended for a general audience or those using Tableau already.
So that's a really good question. I'm also curious about that. I'll be very honest. I have not thought it through, but I've heard Tableau recommended as well, that, hey, why don't you have a Tableau day as one of these user groups? So it's on my to-do list, hopefully for this year. It's been on it for a while, but hopefully for this year, and we'll see. I'll need some feedback if anyone else has done it in their organization and how they went about it.
Did at Olive AI, where I worked a couple of years ago, we did a data camp, and we had a session about using Tableau from the perspective of stakeholders. Kind of, we had just standardized our style guide, and our filters were now all in the same. We had a design system going on, so we were kind of presenting that as well, being like, if you're looking for this, it's here. If you're looking for this, it's here. Here's how you get in touch with us if you don't understand something about Tableau. And it was pretty successful. It was fun.
That's good to know. Motivating, actually.
It looks like we did have one question come in on the Q&A. Curious, do you have help from a team on coordinating these events, or is this something that you're truly running on your own? And how much of your time do you allocate towards the user community engagement?
So that's a really good question. So I do have one developer who does help me try to plan some topics and content along the way. And her and I actually meet on a weekly basis, like an hour every week, and we'll leave a portion of that to discuss about Tableau user group. So I have one person helping me, and hopefully down the road I'll have more. But it does take a lot of my time, and I am able to prioritize my projects at the same time, like I mentioned, using the time boxing method, and still meet deadlines. But just keeping that in mind, that you have something going on the next month helps you plan better.
Awesome. And then we had another, how do you move users from defaulting to traditional methods of Tableau usage? And I think even more generally, I'm curious, like, how do you identify new users to engage and bring into the community when they're starting there? I know that's something that even internally at U Chicago, I think we continue to work through, like, how do we get people funneled in the right way to know that there's even a community out there? So I'm curious to your experience and how you've worked through that.
So my experience starting in 2018 started with the tips and tricks on a weekly basis. And I was just getting a list from the Tableau repository of all the creators. And one way to actually, and I'm not an admin, so I know there's a difference between the Tableau repository and what's on the server in terms of users. So I would also make sure I'm in contact with our Tableau admin to ensure we're adding people to those tug groups. So once I was able to get a more accurate list of all the creators, I would send out those weekly tips and tricks. And from there, that community grew and rose, and it helped raise awareness of the meetings.
Awesome. Don't think we have any other questions unless there's anything else from our fellow co-leads. I just wanted to thank you again. I'm just like looking very quickly, just some notes from Ryan. But I just wanted to thank you again, Hina and Julia. I think that's it for us today. So I'm going to take one of the notes that Hina had. If we end early, we end early and can get time back for people. But don't know if there's any last kind of closing notes, remarks from any of the co-leads.
A comment in the chat from Ryan about for a Tableau Day doing 2-minute insights where people can quickly share something they recently found out in their analysis, or maybe I'll add to that, maybe also something they just learned about Tableau or whatever.
Yeah, I'll just add, as I kind of usually do at the end, first of all, thank you to our speakers. We can't do this without them, as well as all our co-leads for making these things happen. And we really thank all of you for joining us on our Wednesday. And if you have any feedback for us or want to present, feel free to reach out. I'll drop at least my email in the chat in case you want to share your story or what have you.
On Twitter currently, so you can DM any of us there. I think we're all on LinkedIn too. DM any of us there.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll wrap up. I'm going to give it like 20 seconds just so if people want to grab that email, they can. But at that point, we'll close off. So I hope everyone has a good rest of your week and keep an eye out. Hopefully around that April time, we'll have our next session up and going.
Well, thank you guys. It was so much fun.
Thank you.
Julia. Thank you, Hina.
Thank you
Thanks,
for having me.
everybody.
Appreciate it.
Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye, everybody.
Bye.